You seen Harry Potter? You love One Punch Man? You enjoy lifting? Okay, let's fuse all those together and then sprinkle in some Black Clover and Mob Psycho 101. And you may be wondering, do those all mix? Well, they do now. Yo, dudes and dudettes, your friendly neighborhood JaxBlade is back, and today we're going to be talking about the new show, MASHLE. Now, before people start,
Actually, this manga has been out for a while, I know.
I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago.
I actually read a bit of the series a few years back and was going to do a video on it then, but then I got really busy with other stuff and never came back to it. But since the anime is out,
It's free real estate.
the series follows Mash Bernadette, or Bernstead, however you want to say it, who in this world of magic has zero magical ability.
Yeah, we know.
And so because he has no magic, his father gives him an insane training regimen, which is clearly based on strength and endurance, so our boy must have progressively overloaded his muscles to get to this level where he can rep out an insane amount of weight for an insane time. And has pretty much become so strong barely anything can damage him, or so it seems. In this world, they have a very Spartan mentality. But instead of just physical deformities, if a baby is born without magic, which they can tell by the marking on their face, they will immediately cull it to keep the population pure. It's found out our boy Mash has no power, and when called out, he immediately defends himself, but to protect his family, he's sent to wizarding school where crazy, action-packed, comedic hijinks ensue. They even mark his face so he can fit in. But with all that said, it does seem like a pretty interesting premise. Anime wizards lifting, fighting, comedy, etc. A fun comedy shonen, right? And Mash himself can be pretty hilarious with his deadpan reactions or how he absolutely bodies the smug people he runs into. The catharsis from that is something I've always looked forward to. And Mash's expressions and the music to the show are pretty good. But I will admit, for me, the anime is a bit of a slow burn, and I'm not fully caught up on the manga just because I've been so busy with other stuff. But also, I want to say this very clearly, and this is probably a me thing for thinking this. There's a lot of popular shonen out that I see people love, and when I watch them, they just don't grab me the same way as they do for others. And I want to clarify, that in no way means I don't actually like the show. It just means it didn't grab me in a certain way. So if I'm asked about it, it's more like, yeah, it's fine. Love the animation. Because y'all know how there are some people who are perpetually online. So if you're in a situation that's like, yo, did you watch this thing? Oh yeah, I just saw it. I thought it was okay. Fuck you, bitch. Let's rewind for a second, see what they heard in their head. Yo, did you watch this thing? Oh yeah, I did. And I thought it was absolute trash. Your taste is dog water. You're a bitch. And that's why no one loves you. You're garbage. That's why everyone hates you. I hate you. I hate this. And you liking it makes you a bitch. I hate you too. Go. I call that irrational transcribing, and I see it happen way too often online. And to me, there is a stark difference between unfairly judging a show and that specific show just not grabbing you personally, because we all have different tastes. So now, to go off this a bit, let me take you on a ride and show y'all how my tastes evolved from my developmental stages to now. December 31st, 1990 is when I was born, and even though I gained consciousness at 3 years old, the first anime series I ever watched religiously were Gigantor, Astro Boy, Speed Racer, and Samurai Pizza Cats. That was way before I ever knew what anime was, and I just thought of them as cartoons still. Funny enough, I even saw the original Dragon Ball when it was still voiced by the Ocean dub actors, but I was never consistent with it and forgot about it until years later. Years go by, and in 1998, from 2nd grade to 4th grade for me, the Pokemon boom hits, and that's when I started noticing more anime. So like many millennial kids of that era, I fell in love with Pokemon, Sailor Moon, Digimon, Tenchi Muyo, and then some side ones I'd watch would be on Fox Kids like Cardcaptor Sakura, Monster Rancher, Flint the Time Detective, and of course we all know the big one on Toonami,
Dragon Ball Z.
Watching this in my formative years shaped a lot of shows I watched afterwards where I would actively ask, is it like Dragon Ball Z, if my friends recommended me to watch something new. But then in the early 2000s, which was 5th grade through middle school for me, I started vibing out with more mature series you see on Adult Swim. So Yu Yu Hakusho, Cowboy Bebop, Inuyasha, Full Metal Alchemist, Samurai Champloo, and then I'd watch stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Sonic X on Kids WB and Foxbox. But here's something I'll openly admit, I thought the idea of card games saving the world after watching series like Dragon Ball Z and Digimon where all these monsters and people were fighting, well, I thought that was just like a stupid as fuck concept, and so I actually held off on watching Yu-Gi-Oh! For a while, and I only started watching it after I left the TV on and it played after Static Shock, and then it got me hooked and I understood the hype. Then Toonami got a lot more stuff like Rurouni Kenshin and Cyborg 009 and more Gundam shows, but my fave was still Dragon Ball. But as all things must do, it ended, satisfyingly if I may add, with no more movies, no more specials, no more series, and I was like, damn, that was a good run for Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and heck, even GT at the time. And that's when the big three came in when I was just becoming a teenager. And each of them felt like Dragon Ball DNA was infused in them, but modified. They really took this Bruce Lee quote to heart, and it paid off big time. Heck, on 4Kids, I even watched the OG dub of One Piece and actually enjoyed it. I'm sorry, that rap was catchy. But during this time, I was starting to see with what I vibe with as a person. Seeing the shonen formula evolve and then it being modified for each new generation to keep it engaging. Ninjas, pirates, and Shinigami. And then during the big three is when I started getting super into fitness and MMA. And while DBZ was the primary inspiration for me, I fell in love with more relatively grounded series like Hajime no Ippo, Baki the Grappler, and Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple. Seeing characters physically train and get stronger became something that always got me gassed up. And then all through my 20s, I saw a bunch of different shonen and seinen and other stuff, and I started to see what worked for me personally in them and what didn't. Some were ongoing from my younger years, so they had the bonus of what I call adolescent imprinting, meaning from childhood through my teen years, you gave me great times and memories, so I'm riding with you for life. Though even some of those I did outgrow over time. But I also remember being the hipster reading One Punch Man when it looked like it was drawn on a napkin and then getting a manga by Yusuke Murata and also My Hero Academia before either of them ever became popular. And what grabbed me about each of them initially was the subversion and creativity. Before Dragon Ball Super was even a thing, Saitama fighting in the manga with the creativity of Yusuke Murata's drawings felt like the evolution of Dragon Ball battles. Not planet-busting power-wise at the time, but just more adult and creative with how things were being displayed. Which became one of my criticisms with Dragon Ball Super because all these series that Dragon Ball clearly influenced were doing these new creative ways to express themselves, while with Super, a lot of the stuff honestly seemed more like things we already saw before in Ball Z and GT, just with stronger characters, so most of the time it didn't really hit the same for me during this part of my life. I started noticing myself loving more series like sports anime, comedy anime, and slice of life series just because of how relatable and entertaining they were to me. I've talked about my mental health before so many times on this channel and how mine was a roller coaster during those years. And so stuff like that, which helped me to decompress, I ended up genuinely loving. But I also noticed my love for standard shonen stuff started to go down a smidge because after watching so many over the years, some of them start to feel more like new paint, some upgrades, but it's just not hitting for me like those previous ones did during my younger years. Again, that does not mean I hate them at all, but more like if someone asks me, do you like this new show? My response is, yeah, it's fine. Cool animation and fights too. It's also why specifically these days in my 30s, because I generally realize how important time actually is. If you're telling me I have to watch a lot of episodes of a new show when the first 3 to 5 eps did not personally grab or entertain me, I'm probably not going to stay watching it. When I was a kid watching slow burn series on Toonami or Adult Swim or Kids WB or anything like that, if it didn't catch me, it became background noise while I did my homework, and then something could eventually get me invested in one of the eps. But these days, everything is streaming, so you actively have to choose what to watch. If it becomes insanely great later on, I may have to check it out later, but if I'm watching a show and the story just ain't grabbing me, you can't force someone to like something. And I'd rather utilize my time for stuff I actually enjoy or stuff actually beneficial to my life at this point. And to go back to popular shonen, 2 quick examples of series I watched and enjoyed, but not to the level of like, say, their fan bases, were Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1. I thought the animation was spectacular, the fight scenes were incredible, I liked a handful of the characters, but overall Season 1 of the show was fine to me. And yes, I will be watching Season 2 as well, and I am excited to see how Season 2 goes.
So I recorded this months ago, my editor just got it to me, but yeah, I've been watching JJK Season 2, and yeah, that shit is beast, bruh. Yeah, I'm loving it.
But again, it didn't grab me that certain way. But to people who think it's the best thing ever, that comes off like I'm dissing it, when I am not. I enjoyed my time, it just didn't grab me in the way that made me fall in love with it like that. Another is Demon Slayer. Animation, handful of characters, and fights, absolutely immaculate. Story overall though, it's just fine to me. I enjoy it, but I'm not like mega in love with it. I think the last series I really loved that wasn't a slice of life, sports, or typical comedy was Mob Psycho 100 and Chainsaw Man. I really love both of those. So to go all the way back to MASHLE after that very long ride, thank you for joining me on it. If I had any criticism for MASHLE, initially, the comedy they're going for, to me, felt like it was trying too hard to be a One Punch Man clone in like some areas, rather than being an homage to it for like 1 or 2 scenes. I feel like I've seen the okay face numerous times. The action is, pretty cool. MASH is funny, and it's great seeing MASH whoop ass as the series progresses, but I don't really care or like any of the other characters besides MASH himself. I also can't tell you any of their names, sadly. I also don't really feel any real investment in the story or plot right now, to be honest, but overall, tell me, what do you think of MASHLE if you've read the manga? And if you made it this far in the video, type in Hulk MASH down in the comment section below, and let's get a discussion going. Thank you to the lovely patrons on screen who always support me. And if you'd like to check out my Patreon for some rewards, check it out. Again, this is not a diss or anything like that. It's just people have been asking my opinion, and I feel like that evolution of how my tastes evolve gave a pretty good all right, so this is the type of stuff I would vibe with more often. Be sure to check out my pinned comment for some programs I have on sale right now to get in shape. I got a cookbook coming out. I also got some videos coming on the Superman show and Spider-Man 2099. But remember, like I always say, keep calm, booyah on, and don't forget Momentai.